Hello and welcome to another episode of Backlinking, the PKM podcast, the podcast where I discussed everything in productivity applications and sometimes productivity in general. But in today's episode, I have a cool one, or at least one I think is really interesting because there are two aspects of note-taking and note-taking applications that are getting really popular. There are two subsets of note-taking or PKM apps that is gaining a lot of popularity. The first one is visual note-taking apps, which I've talked a lot about, and there are quite a few of them. Lately, we have gotten more things like Constella, and another one is Noti. There are coming more and more there are more and more visual note-taking apps coming, but the other subset of note-taking that is gaining a lot of popularity, there we only have three applications, and that is object-based note-taking, and that is what we are going to talk about today, because Craft wanted to become an object-based note-taking tool, but they decided that they didn't want to do that after all, and would rather just add collections and better task management, which was great. A lot of people actually did love the addition of collections and better task management. And I think one of the main reasons why Craft decided that they won't go into object-based note-taking is because it feels a little bit I would say technical, a little hard to learn, even for people in the note-taking space, like Capacities, Tana, and the last one is Anytype. All of those three are really hard to learn, and I actually learned Anytype first. My whole YouTube channel started around Anytype videos. I haven't done one in a while because Anytype has not published any new updates, but I will talk more about that later. But um, I actually started with Anytype, but the things I learned in Anytype I couldn't bring with me to Tana or to Capacities. Capacities I still don't understand, and Tana I've gotten to learn recently. And there are these three applications that are fighting to become like the next big thing in object-based note-taking. And a lot of people love object-based note-taking. I think it makes a lot of sense. I'm currently, as you might know, been playing around with different note-taking applications. I'm trying to find like my daily driver application after my system fell apart. And I've been playing around with some of these object-based ones, and there are some differences to them. Like Tana is an outliner, so it is really different from Capacities and Anytype. Anytype is like really privacy-focused. Think even more privacy-focused than something like Obsidian. It is local first, so all of your files are actually stored locally on your device. I think Capacities also now has full offline support, and they have said before that they want to be an offline first application. I think they are at that point right now. And offline first doesn't only mean it doesn't only mean like privacy and owning your own files. It also means that the application is much faster because it does not have to retrieve information from the server, so it is much faster. That is another reason why object-based, no, sorry, that is another reason why offline first and things like Obsidian are really popular applications because they are super fast. So is Anytype a super fast application because everything is stored locally. Two of the applications out of the three, I've been covering these three applications ever since they actually came out. And two of the three has gotten out of beta and are like fully out. Tana, I actually published their product hunt page, I think last week from the time you are watching or listening to this. So it recently like launched. Capacities has been out for a while. Anytype has been much slower. Anytype has been the one I've been covering the most. I started using the application back when it was in alpha, and I've been following it. They released their pricing plan, and are now they now also have like they call it multiplayer mode, but it is basically just collaboration inside of the application, which is a really cool thing to add inside of something like Anytype. But it feels like Anytype is falling a little behind when Capacities Tana is launching like huge things. It's been a while since Anytype has released something major. Like in their roadmap, I think they had drawing handwritten notes on an iPad or with a stylus. I think they had that in Q4 last year, so Q4 2024. That didn't come. That was a major one I was looking forward to. They had some other things as well. The roadmap might have changed. I am not like checking these roadmaps every single week, but at the start of the year, that was a part of their roadmap. And I guess like things change, and Anytype is trying to build something really complex. They also have their Anysync protocol. I think it's called Anysync. And they are building something really complex. And I really like the application. I like the idea behind it, but the development on it has been much slower than a lot of the other applications I often follow. Um, well, that isn't true. It has been much slower than the other applications. So Capacities actually launched a little bit before both Tana and Anytype. But Tana and Anytype started sort of at the same place. Like I got into both of those applications in alpha around the same time. Probably a couple of months later than Tana I got into, or I think it was 1 month later than Tana I got into Anytype. So they have been in sort of a similar place for a long time. And Tana now launching, and I also think that Tana has more like it has more appeal because of the AI hype. Like in the note-taking space, I think a lot of people care about like privacy and being able to own your own notes and things like that. In in the business segment where Tana is trying to like get people, they're trying to get people who previously would use mem because AI made it easier for them to find their notes. They didn't have to organize that much. They didn't have to spend time like busy professionals is how I would put it. That is who they are targeting, while Anytype feels like they're much more targeting the PKM community, but not even that, more of like the blockchain community. Uh, People who are really interested in blockchain and things like that. At least in their marketing, that is what it looks like, because in the start, Anytype spent a lot of time in these tech forums. I'm talking about the technology behind Anytype and the Anysync protocol and things like that. So they are targeting different markets, and that might be one of the reasons why they are so far apart. I also think that, I think it is important to keep in mind that we can have three object-based note-taking apps. I don't think we will. I think we will have one or two, but we can end up having three object-based note-taking apps. I just feel like there are so many note-taking apps at this point that the market has to at some point desaturate. We need to get to a point where we have fewer ones, because all of these note-taking applications, they cannot live. There aren't enough people into note-taking apps to have like 50, 60 note-taking apps. We have seen um, applications fall apart. I had one of my favorite ones disappeared. This was back before I actually made a lot of videos. I used an application called Clover, no longer with us today. I think it's part of Figma now. It got acquired by Figma. So I think the market will at some point desaturate. I can't tell you if Anytype will be here, if Tana will be here, if Capacities will be here. All of that is like speculation, but I think that the market will at some point desaturate. We will have fewer note-taking apps at some point. And back to like my point here, it feels like Anytype is falling a little bit behind, but on the other hand, they are targeting a different market, and I feel like marketing for Tana is a little bit easier. But mainly because of the like AI hype, and Tana is heavily reliant on AI. AI is one of the selling points of something like Tana. Capacities has gained a lot of popularity for two different reasons. One is the object-based, but out of the three object-based note-taking apps, I think Capacities is the most beautifully designed one. So the UI UX of Anytype isn't, it is good, but it doesn't feel as quote unquote beautiful as something like Capacities. I think it is fun to look at Capacities. It is so well designed. I think that is one important thing about Capacities. I also think that Capacities will take more of that, more of the people that are currently using Notion, because it feels much more like Notion, even though Anytype has like collections and it also has sets, which are basically databases. I think Anytype is a little bit too complex for many of the Notion users. And when I'm saying Notion users, I'm thinking of people like my sister, my friends who aren't that into note taking. They are students that use something like Notion to take notes. I think capacities can take a lot of people from that market. I also think capacities is much more focused on individuals and less on businesses. I think Tana will gain a bit from businesses. I think Anytype also is um, more focused towards individuals. But I think these three applications will be, for at least for a while now, the major players in object-based note-taking, and we will have to wait and see whether or not we can have three different object-based note-taking applications. I think we can, because they hit so different markets. So, as I said, I think capacities is like, if I were to describe the people using capacities, I would think like former Notion users, I would think like students, people like that. Anytype, I'm thinking like highly privacy concerned people, people in the blockchain community that is also into note taking. When I'm thinking Tana, I'm thinking busy professionals. Probably, my guess is that given the import feature in Tana, they are stealing from things like Workflowy, or taking from people from things like Workflowy, from things like Rome. I think they have on their import feature. I think they have Dynalist as well, but Dynalist isn't updated yet. So that is an outliner tailored more towards busy professionals. Sorry. So I think all of them can exist. That is my main point. But I think like these three object-based note-taking apps and seeing where they are headed, I think that is the most exciting thing in note-taking right now, probably together with these new visual note-taking apps that are coming up. I think both of those things are really exciting, but I think like object-based note-taking, that is the most exciting thing we have in the note-taking space today. I think there are so many interesting things happening there, and I'm excited to see, especially Anytype coming up. I think Anytype needs to come up with an update this first quarter of the year. There hasn't been that much sound from the team. Like, I think their last tweet was back in December. I'm filming this on February the 8th. It has been a long time since we've heard something from Anytype, which in a lot of cases is a little concerning. I don't think it is for something like Anytype that is at such an early stage, but I've seen like things like walling and things like Clover get really, really silent right before they shut down or change leadership or whatever they're doing. Um, but it is never a good sign. It has, at least doesn't feel like a good sign when you get silence from a note-taking app on social media or any company on social media. But I think it will be exciting to see if Anytype can sort of catch up with the other two this year. I think we're starting to get to a point where Anytype need to get out of beta because they've been there around a year now, I think, close to a year. I think it will be a year in a couple of months. I don't actually remember. Um, but we are getting to a point where I think we're closing in to a point where I think Anytype should uh, at least do an update. Then we can talk about releasing later, but at least we need an update quite soon. It will be really exciting to see. As I said, I think all of the three will continue to grow a bit, and then we will see whether or not we actually have space for three different object-based note-taking apps, because the note-taking market is really, really saturated. But that covers it for today's video or podcast. If you have any questions, leave them down below. I will try to get to them as soon as I can. Thank you so, so much for watching or listening to today's episode. And as always, these are just my personal thoughts. Thank you so, so much.